Hello and welcome to another video here on building a PDF render on the client side using Nuxt. So because yesterday or in the last video I dedicated time is to what the design will look like. Okay, if I take a look at this, oops, for some reason it doesn't let me refresh the page. Okay, so yesterday I mentioned, okay, let me remove this. So yesterday I defined is the design or the end result of our application. So this is the PDF reader with view and Nuxt 3. Okay, so at the top we're going to define is a navigation using Beautify component, or this Beautify UI library, the navigation component, and here we're going to render the PDF. Okay, so the requirements are being able to display the PDF, being able to navigate through pages, being able to select and copy text from the PDF. So I developed a naive roadmap of how I'm going to do this. And here is, well, define the UI to render the PDF. And then load PDF package in Nuxt app with View 3, which is a particular View 3 library. Okay, render a PDF files that allows to copy text, and then render multiple page in a single file, right? Okay, so because yesterday, and I know I have a lot of tag open here, so we're using this library, which is a wrapper of the Pdfjs, this general purpose web standard platform for parsing and rendering PDF, which is maintained by Mozilla. And the cool thing of this is so we don't have to worry about how to create a plugin around this library, the Pdfjs. So luckily for us, someone actually create that wrapper, so we don't need to do that. And now see how can we render this client-side library using Nuxt. So if I go back to the code here, no, come on. If I go back here to the code, okay, so yesterday what I did is just to define a plugin, right, where we're going to inject this library, okay, and because this is a client-side library, we need to define is a way of we need to tell Nuxt, hey, I just want to render this component, the PDF reader, right, only on the client side. So once I run this, npm run def, okay, that's right, so it launched our web app on localhost. Okay, cool. So if I go back to the browser here, that's right, we get is this 500 error, meaning that for some reason the server is running our client-side library on the server, and that's why it says this, right? So it tried to access an object that is not defined. So document is only available in the browser. So what can we do? So locally for us, Nuxt provide is a how do you call it? Provide is a couple components like client only that indicate to Nuxt, hey, these components will be rendered only in the client. Okay, so the client only component render it is slot only in client side. and to import a component only on the client. Register the component in a client-side only plugin, which is exactly what we did. So I define a client-side only plugin. Why plugin? Because this is the internal mechanism of how you in Nuxt define plugins. Or in other words, how do you import other components, other Vue 3 components. So the way of how you do in Vue, okay, to import that component is by, let me look at this, the plugin here. So it's by importing the create app function from Vue, and then you call the use functions where you're going to pass. Here you define is the name of the plugin or the instance of that plugin, and optionally pass a JSON opt, right? So this is the way how do you create a plugin and how do you register a plugin. So the way Nuxt do this, okay, is using here in the plugins is doing or setting this function, okay? And if you want to now register a third-party package, or in this case a plugin, so you need to call is the Nuxt app, which is the Nuxt content object, where here you can access to the Vue applications and pass the proper plugin here. So okay, which is exactly what we did. If I go back, which is exactly what it did. Let me go back to the code, which is exactly what I did here. Okay, okay, but still I'm getting this error. Okay, and still I'm getting is the 500 error. So even though that this library is, or this plugin is being registered, okay, so the once you set this will be this plugin, or any file you define under the plugin folders will have a order of execution, okay, but Nuxt still interpreted this as render this plugin on the server. So what can we do? That's right. So here on the main app, or when we're going to use that library only, we can define is the client-side tag, right? So the client only, where now this receive as a property a fallback tag, which is a span, and the fallback, okay, which is loading component. So we wrap this under the our component or PdfReader, okay. It already updated that. Now if I go back to this browser and render the application, now we're able to see this, you know, which is good, awesome. So here we're loading is this PDF example, the entire PDF. We're completely loading that, so that's good, that's awesome. Okay, and we solve a couple things here. So if I go back here to the Figma design, okay, so now we're able to display the PDF, and we're now being able to select and copy text from the PDF. Okay, so looking now at the roadmap, I define the UI to render the PDF, load the PDF package in Nuxt, which is something that I already did, render a PDF file that allows to copy text, And now it is time to render multiple PDF page in a single file. Okay, so how can we do that? So how can we render multiple page for that? So what we can do here is now define, is to match the style here a little bit, okay? And that is on the code. Let me now add some, let me wrap this on like this. So where here we can is do something like a class. We're gonna call this class as the container. In this container class, we'll now have the padding or margin. So margin 0 at the top, 3 root element at the right, 3 root element at the, we can set 3 root element at every direction, right? Okay, and in our main application, so if I look at this, that's right, and in the main app, here, now let me add a background, which is the style. Which is a style that will be rendered is the container. With the background color with this color. Okay, now if I look at this, in this case, let me do this for the HTML element. And there you got it. Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. Completely. So things are starting to look a little bit better. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Okay. All right. So now, if I want to know is the number of page here, we can is render that content right below here using an span to actually indicate is the number of page, that's right, so the number of page are 14, Okie dokie. And then now you can iterate through all of those pages. Alright. So now what it's doing is to iterate through all of these components and render that individually. Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. So now it is time to add the Beautify UI, in our case, for this component. So now let me take a look at the introduction here, getting started, the installation. We can use the performance here. To get started with Beautify 3, simply paste the following code. Okay, this is the installation. After making your selection, Create Beautify will generate the structure for your new application. So once this scaffold is complete, start the V development server by running the following command. Server-side rendering. View 3 has no way to automatically detect if server-side is used. So Nuxt, Grid Hubs, and other server-side framework must manually set the server-side rendering option to true in order to properly render the application. Okay. So you need to define is a plugin based on this framework and other server-side rendering frameworks. Okay. Vue CLI is currently in maintenance mode and no longer the default tooling and the manual step. Okay, this is how you do using Vue 3. Okay, using Laravel mix and this and expose export. Okay, so but I think this will generate that after making your selection. Create Beautify will generate the structure of your new application, but I don't want to create a new application. That's what happened. I just want to import that. So if it wants to import that in Nuxt, well, let me see if there is a Nuxt 3 model for Beautify. Okay, Nuxt Beautify model. Okay, add Beautify 3 to your Nuxt 3 application in seconds. That's right. Add invictus.code Nuxt Beautify dependency to your project, and add Invictus code Nuxt Beautify to the model section of nuxt.config.ts. Tree shaking through. Use icons CDI. Vid plugin Beautify. Options style true. Our import. That's it. You can now use Nuxt Beautify in your Nuxt app. You also have a lot of options here. And to make sure to be logged in with GitHub account of login, otherwise changelog won't work. But this is on the development. Okay. Let me look at the source code here. Invictus code. Okay. So he made that. All right. Okay. Okay, the Nuxt configuration here. They just lean, they just ignore. Editor config. Okay. And the source here, which is now exporting that model, which is a model that he created, config key logger, and export that. Interesting. Okay. So there is a lot of code underneath the hood that is doing zero configuration to start, 3 shaking built-in vid disabled by default, icon font loaded via CDN enabled by default, automatic Nuxt server-side detection, beautify style configurable precompiled CSS by default. Okay. 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 Okay, so let's do it. Let's add this model like this. Okay, using the performance PNM. So if I go back to the code, okay, performing npm. Okay, performing npm add as a dependency, as a def dependency, the Invictus code and Nuxt beautify. And all what we have to do is to pass the models and all that I have to do is to pass the models here. So go to the Nuxt.config, the powerhouse of Nuxt, import that model, and define is the beautify options here, like this, right? True or false. Nuxt beautify models options. Do the 3 shaking, as well as use the CDN icons and vid plugins beautify options. Okay. Okay. And auto import as true, right? Styles are true. Okay. And if I run again this code and performing npm run the dev server, all right. So now if I want to use, for example, the pagination component, where Let me switch back to the browser here. Look at the navigation from the pagination here, components. Okay, so we can just copy the source code here. Okay, the length, total visibility, total visible. This is the option: length, icon, disabled, that kind of thing. Okay, cool. So let me copy this code, and this Nuxt model internally must have import the components, meaning that internally, for example, here in the getting started installation, so internally it must have something like this. Okay, so Vue 3 has no way to automatically detect if server-side is used. So Nuxt, Grid, Zone, and other frameworks must manually set this server-side rendering option to true. Again, because I am relying on this Nuxt plugin, so it's doing this behind the scenes. And using Laravel mix.copy. Okay. So if I go back to the code and then import that component here, okay, and I run that and go back here, okay, so it automatically do the hot mode reload, which is great. Loading component, and there you got it. Awesome, completely awesome. So yeah, that's pretty much somewhat similar to our UI, which is this, right? So in this case, I just want to make this component the same as this. Okay, so what we can do here is to wrap this pagination in a div, where here we're gonna pass is some basic style. Okay, another great thing is that because we are using is Beautify, we can use some of the utility class. Okay, so for example, we can do things like the spacing. Okay, but since in our case we want to match this design, okay, I just want to wrap that in a white label, or this is the components, the content, border radius, elevation, flex, overflow, sizing. We can add some of the spacing here. Let me see the source code here, like the view car. Okay, containment, navigation, form input and control, data and display, grid, selection, feedback, image and icon, pickers, providers, miscellaneous, no server-side rendering, API, directive, labs, that kind of thing. Okay, features, alias, blueprints, display, icon fonts, internationalization, SAS variables. And this is SAS variables, theme, style and animation, CSS reset. Okay. Okay. So, and when it comes to, for example, a color, do you have any style and animation color home? Color picker, features, color variations, custom theme colors, color variations. This is from the API. Okay, it is API, but style and animations here, colors. That's right, material color palette. Okay, which is what I want here. So out of the box, you can get access to all colors in the material design specification through Sass and JavaScript. This value can be used within your style sheet, your component files, or actual components via the color prop. Interesting. Or an actual component via color props. Okay. So each color from the specification get converted to a background and a text. So the following is this material design specification. Okay. The text color also support darken and lighten. Okie dokie. Alright. And this is if we want to use the Sass color pack. Use beautify with color pack. False. Okay. And this is the palette. Interesting. So I would like to use a color like this. Okay, as the background. So if I use this and I set the background and the text, okay, which is background and the text. So if I look to the code here, that's right. In this case, to the browser, yeah, we get this. This is the PDF render. Okie dokie. We can remove that content, okay, and add some margin here. Using is the beautify styles like spacing. Okay, we can add some margin. We can say margin top. An example of this. Margin top or margin above, like that, in all directions. Okay, but in my case, I just want to apply the margin top. Okay, so margin top, margin. Let me look at the code here. Padding all. That's right. Okay. So margin top, and what is the maximum one? Here is somewhat like this, so we can use this 6 for that. Okay. Okay. That's great. That's right. All right. Okay. Awesome. And because we want to make this layer of the wrapper, okay, so we're going to make this navigation sticky. Is there any class to do this? So for example, if I look at, so if I search that for sticky, prop sticky, transition, resets, border radius, content, paragraph code variables, user inputs, display, okay, display visibility, display in print, accessibility, elevations, prop based elevations, click based elevations. Okay, we can add this elevation here. All right, like elevation. Okay, in our component here. So by passing is the class elevation. Okay. We can also add some padding or margin in this case. Some padding at the top and padding at the bottom, like this. Okay. Much better. Okay. And make that sticky. Just going to make this sticky. Overflow. No. Sizing. Spacing. Float. Flex. Yeah, it's like, well, we're going to add this sticky. Not even the navigation. Navigation. What about if I look at the component here, if the navigation contains that? Navigation, the pagination here. Okay. What if I want to look at the API? That's right, at this props, active color, border color, density disable, elevation. Okay. Ellipses, first Arial label, first icon, last icon, length, model value, next icon, page area label, press icon, previous area label, round, show first last page. Size, start, tag, theme, total visible, variance. Okay, so if you want to make this sticky, you need to create a class for that. Okay, no problem. Let's do this. Which is pagination. We're using the beam. Pagination scope here. So you add this pagination, where now this will be position relative. So let me is add this, the pagination container. Okay, we're here with the pagination container. Position sticky. Here you're gonna define is this. Is a position relative. Okay. And so the inner class will be position fix. And on the nav, you're going to tell, hey, you just want to make this element and the C index right above. And the width will be 100%, right? Okay. So we need to inject this. Exactly. And add some padding here, right? Okay, but for this we need to add, so we need to access to the nav element here and then change that. Okay, we'll need to access to the nav element and then change that. So find that element, okay, and you're going to pass this. So the position will be fixed. Bring that to the front with 100% width. Okay. Okay, now it's loading the component. Okay, there were some errors. Reload that again. Okay, load the component, initialize beautify, awesome. And I wasn't able to access to the nav. Okay. Okay, because this style are actually scope. Yeah, because this style are actually scope. So you can have access to that. Yeah, so you can have access to that. So if I want now to deep into the virtual DOM, vdeep class here, which is in our case vdeep, right? Not using SAS, you can do this, the child class. In view 3, now is using is the prefix. Okay, in view 3, the v prefix is now deprecated and no longer need. We can use the unified deep exactly, which is a CSS selector for that class. In view 3, new selectors. Is deprecated in favor of deep child class. Okay, so what you do is with deep. So now let me look at the deep selectors. Okay, from the MDM. What? Where is the? No, I just want to look at the documentation. Is for real? What about this? Anyway, search here with deep like this. Deep copy, array, spread syntax, CSS, cascading style. Deep selector. Okay, go back here to the selectors. Universal type selector, class selector, ID, attribute, group selectors, combinators, pseudo classes, pseudo elements. In this case is pseudo classes. Pseudo classes here. Let me look at the deep. Oh my god, okay, interesting. You don't have the register here. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay. Default, so okay. So that's a view 3. Okay. So that's a view 3. View 3. So do you have any documentation here for this? scope CSS, add a view loader, mixing local and global styles, deep selectors. Okay, the view loader. Also keep in mind this deep selectors. View deep and find that. Okay. Okay. So it's something like this. So pagination container deep I mean it's this. So pagination container deep and find the nav for that. Okay. This is where you're going to apply this style. So you tell the browser, hey, I would like you to make this fix and bring that to the top so I can do that, right? So let me reload here. It's loading the component. It's because also it's fetching, it's making that HTTP request. And now it is loading a huge amount of script here. Okay, no, that's not good. Okay. But, yeah, it wasn't able to append that. But it wasn't able to append that. The pagination container deep nav. Dynamically generated content. Don't create it with VHTML and not affected by scope style. So, scope CSS. Exactly. It generates this particular style. However, if I want to go down, child component root elements with scope, the parent component still will not leak into the child components. However, a child component root node will be affected by both the parent scope CSS and its child scope CSS. This is by design so that the parent can style the child root element for layout purpose, which is exactly what I want to do here. So this is the pagination container. So in that case, it seems that we don't need to do this. In fact, it'll be enough by just only passing this for that. So, and that's right. Okay, awesome. And we can also pass is this. With 5, that's right. And there you go. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. That's awesome. Okay. So in this case, there is no need to. So just use this, and we can is uh, do this. So what about this? This is just to adding some more style here. Options with the container, but it seems it's like oh. Okay, because okay. All right, it's because we need to add this container is over here. Yeah, and we're rendering as this component here. But but it is possible because you shouldn't be affected by this in theory, unless you say top 50. Yeah, unless you define is that, meaning is the top one root element. Okay, so I need is to define is, hey, this fixed element must be on the top. All right. So if I reload this component again, so right now behind the scene is hidden the Nitro server. The Nitro server detect that this is a client side only component. Then the client, the view PDF, the view3 PDF library perform the HTTP request, and it's actually fetching a lot of. It's actually fetching a lot of V button. It's like okay, it's not doing the tree shaking. It's not doing the tree shaking. But we get is this, right? We get our application. So that's right. The browser automatically re-render this. Cool, cool. All right. Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. So we're making progress. Okay, and now the another thing is to only render the component per page. Okay, so let me now here is to stop the dev server, git status. Interesting, there is, okay, git init, initialize git init, git status, git commit -m, okay. Oh, in this case, let me add all of this. Git add, my friend, not git commit, git add all of this. Let me double check here. I also want to add the git ignore, as well as the .npm source. Now make the commit. Okay. First commit, or in this case is PdfReader. So render a render a PDF, render a PDF, render a browser, render a PDF, render a PDF. Okay, you say git push origin. Okay, I now need to create is the repo. Okay, so let me go to create that repo. Okay, dokie. The name of this will be Nuxt 3 PDF reader. Okay. So like push the code here. Okay, and now import that. Git paste this code, okay, on the terminal. Okay, and now go back to Firefox here, reload it, and there you got it. All right, so Nuxt 3 minimal started. What we can do is now to see how our application will look like in deployment. Okay, because now this is the deployment step. So luckily for us, Nuxt provide an easy way to do that using Vercel. So what we can do here is go to the documentation, specifically to the guidelines, and when it comes to, get start to the deployment here. Okay, since I just want to host this statically, we can set this as server-side rendering to true, so it will pre-render routes of your application at build time, meaning that this is the the behavior that it does behind the scenes when you run Nuxt generate. Okay, so if you want to test that, okay, by looking at the guides here and going further, for example, if you want to test to the API, where here on the commands we have something called Nuxt preview. Okay, the preview command start a server to preview your Nuxt application after running the build command. Question: this will run, start a server to preview your Nuxt application after running the build command. And then you have Nuxt prepare and generate types. This can be useful in a CI environment or as post-install command in your package.json. In Nuxt generate. So the generate command pre-render every route of your application and store the result in plain HTML that you can deploy on any static hosting server. So the command triggers the Nuxt build command with the pre-render argument set to true. So if I run this command, okay, and tell, hey, you know what, I just want you to pre-render that route, okay, building for production, that's right. Some chunks are larger than 500. After minification, consider using dynamic import to code split in the application. Use build.rollup options output manual chunk to improve rollout configuration and adjust chunk size for this warning via build set. Yeah, because it is a huge. So now this is this. Interesting. So because we're importing is view T5, but here we're importing is the entire view T5 components, and actually I'm just using is one of them, okay, because I'm using is just one component. Not only that, because not only that I'm using is just one component, is also I'm using is some is other styles. That's what happened. I'm using is another style, so that's one of the reasons why this actually weighs too much. And this library is heavy, man. This is a heavy library, by the way. So here, if I want to analyze now the why those bundles are so heavy, okay, with Nuxt analyze, okay, okay. use dynamic import to code split the application. Okay, chunk app here, that's right, analyze, and entry styles. Yeah, entry styles. In entry styles. Holy hell. Entry styles. This is the server, the cache configuration from pnpm. That's right, chunk error for this. Nuxt analyze default Nuxt this server, but okay. If I go to the client side bundle stats, PDF workers. Holy hell. And PdfJs, as well as the PDF viewer. PDF worker. So you have a lot of this application here, the composables, and all of this package, but it's way heavier. And on the bill, Pdfjs and the PDF worker. Nitro server bundle stats and the entry styles. Beautify is way too heavy, my friend. Yeah, Beautify is way too heavy for this. Beautify is way too heavy for this. And because I'm using is a Nuxt. Okay. And because I'm using is a Nuxt model. Okay. So let me now run the dev server here, changing is some command npm run dev. Okay, because now it's way too heavy, man. Which is, come on, man. Which is this. Okay. And performing npm run dev. Okay. It transpile that code. That's right. And then he run up the server. Right. So if I open up the application here, it now loads faster. But it now loads faster, but without loading that pagination here. Meaning is Hi. Mm-hmm. Okay. This is the model options. Tree shaking, use icons. Okay, now let me look at the Nuxt model here. Model options, tree shaking, true. Tree shaking enables you drastically lower your build size by only including the component you actually use in the final bundle. Default false. Model options, use icon. Use a CDN to load the icons only available for default MBA and FEA. Default true. Okay. Default true. Okay. Model options, styles. True, precompiled Beautify CSS. No, non-styles are loaded. SAS styles are used. Exposed SAS styles are used. Config your SAS CSS file here. Use your own styles file. Precompiled Beautify CSS. But when he pre-configure that Vue plugin, Beautify. Model option or import. I'll import the Beautify components only available with tree shaking. True. But it's because this Vue plugin, by the way, you're actually loading that huge chunk of that Beautify loader. This monorepo contains compiler plugins for auto-loading Beautify components and configuration style. Vue plugin and the older Beautify loader. Vue plugin. Automatic import, it automatically create that. Customizing variables. Customizing variables, all methods. And create Beautify. Remove all style import. Import SAS from source. Image loading. The problem with that is heavy, man. We're actually loading is a lot of dependency that we barely need that. You know, we're loading is a lot of dependency and we barely need them. That's one of the reasons why that's one of, if you import components, okay? If you import components, compress trace monkey, and you're loading all of this, and you're loading all of this. So so if I look at this, Beautify styles, precompile global CSS, reset util, etc. No component styles will be redirected to SAS. Is set in vid or webpack. All components not recommending, and it will include all components during development, slowing down your build completely. Beautify component, individually components grouped by top level. Exactly. Individually components grouped by top level name. For example, vlist item. So for example, gx expose export. So for example, okay, beautify component's name. So for example, I just want to import one component, not the whole library. Let me close this. Okay, let me close this as well as this. So I get these options, okay, the model options, which is relevant to view, and then the beautify here. Out imports, the beautify components only available with tree shaking. Nuxt 3 out imports. And read plugin beautify. So what I want here is to, you know what? Okay. How can I import just one single component? You know, that's all I want. Import one single component. Import one single component. Because Nuxt here, Nuxt beautify options say, hey, you know what? You can do that. But this is the beautify options. So okay, so let me take a look at the API. That's right. The API here, and it is options. Okay, hey, what's wrong? To the B batch here. No, the V navigation. No, V pagination. That is this. No, but tell me more about the. Tell me more about the. Tell me more about the. The beautify options, man. Like the beautify options. Beautify options. Global configuration. Okay, the beautify option. The setup uses setup default property of beautify configuration to set the default props value. Here has some disabled ripple for all components that support it, and set the default elevation to 4 for all these sheets. Okay. Contextual default. Default can be configured by component nested within other component. For example, if you want to set the default variant for all V buttons, component nested with V card. This is used internally by some components already. Global class and styles. Okay, using with virtual components. Nested default. But what if I want to only, or tree shaking, exactly. Automatic tree shaking with Nuxt. So this is the way how you can restore this model. v.extend config. Manual import. Yeah, man. I'll go for this manual import. Yeah, I won't go for this beautify option. The thing with Nuxt option is that it will allow us to do certain kind of things. Like server-side rendering. But here we don't want to do that, okay? So I won't rely on this. I won't rely on that model. In fact, I'm going to uninstall that model. Okay. I'm going to uninstall that model. That's right. From the package JSON. So let me go back to the code here, so you can see what I'm doing right now. To the package JSON, I'm going to uninstall this model. Okay. Which is performing npm remove from the dependency this. Okay, that's right. And instead of that, I'm going to create is a plugin for that, which is defined here as the beautify.ts. But I think this is a client-side only library, so define is the client pref suffix, and in our plugin section here, with plugin beautify. So if I want to install that, Okay, if I want to install this without creating as a project, because after all I don't want to create a project, yeah, but if I do this, I'm going to create a new project. So if I run this command from their docs, performing npm create beautify project, project name is Nuxt 3 PDF render. Because it's going to create, no. Again, I don't want to create that view. I just want to import the UI library. Yeah, I just want to import the UI library. The UI kit. Okay. Because beautify UI npm, I just want to install that. A collection quick spin out application with simple command. Beautify Loader, a collection of helper utility for creating UCLI plugins, and ESLint plugin Beautify, an open-ending ESLint plugin for Beautify. Okay. So the problem here with Beautify and Nuxt is that it is loading the entire ecosystem. So it is loading its entire UI component. So I just want to cherry picking the ones I want. But I just want to do a cherry picking. Okay. You want to do a cherry picking here. Interesting. So this is a okay. I just want to do a cherry picking here. Interesting. So yeah, I just want to do a cherry picking here. Interesting. Very, very interesting. And not worry about too much of the configuration because that's what happened. I spend too much on the configuration, which is something that doesn't give me value. The configuration doesn't give me anything of value. Mm-hmm. Hmm. No, but this is a particular error with them. Hmm. You verify style. Mm. Mm-hmm. Optimization dependency. Config file, you're gonna pass the variable here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. You know what? Let's going to simplify our life. Nuxt models. Okay. We're going to simplify our life. Yeah. So let me look at UI. Okay. That will be Tailwinds. Nuxt Beautify. Okay. View stick. No one's using that. Tailwind, man. Let's going to make things simple for ourselves. You know, period, man. Okay. Tailwind. Just like that. Let's make our life much more simple. Let's make our life much more simpler. Okay, so here, now, let me add the Nuxt Tailwind model here, so we can easily create our pagination and look at the Tailwind CSS examples to build a pagination. For example, here a pagination here. Get started. What about pagination? No, pagination. No. Okay. Let's go for the components here. Since we are building is an application UI for this, this is the code that I want. That's right, a pagination. Okay, dokie. With view. That's right. A simple pagination here, and I need to install is some icons. Okay. So now let me register this module. Let me register this model here. According to this instruction, so under the models array, so under the model array, I'm going to import the Nuxt Tailwind model. Cool. So actually there is no any additional configuration, which is great. Okay. And now go back to the PDF render, remove this pagination because now we're not using is beautify. Okay, and in fact okay, pagination container, and in fact let me now define another component called the pagination here. Pagination.view. Okay, using the boilerplate view3 base like this. Now if I go back to the browser, specifically here, and then I copy this, I'll need to, okay, it's showing us this and showing the result for that. That's right. So the only code that we want here is just the pagination, which is this. This is the only code that I want here. Okay. And we need to import is these two components. Meaning that we need to import is the hero icons here. Okay, so hero icons here, npm from view, by the way, because it's view, hero icons view. Okay, now go back to the code. Import that as a dependency, as a production dependency. And now let's go into copy and paste this code from the pagination. Okay. All right. Provide some format, and let me now import this component right below here. Okay. Okay, but for some reason it's taking too much time. Use the performance npm for that. Okay. And now if I say pagination here, pagination, Okay. So thanks to the auto import feature from Nuxt, I can now, by defining this component under the by defining the pagination component under the components folder, I can define it inside of the PDF render and run the dev server, the Nitro dev server. Okay. Warning: error. Has no export default and will be ignored at build time. Okay. Interesting. That's right, because I never import Beautify, and because I don't need Beautify after all, so I can remove that plugin. Alright, let me run the server again. Okay, let me add the pagination container here to the class pagination container, and go to the browser where exactly I can see this. Okay, so this is good. This is very, very good. So now here, let me just add some styles here, and specifically something like the padding here, like one. Okay, but now let me do this is with the the pagination container. So on top of this, you can do things like text aligns. No, because after all, this is a relative element. So text text align center. No, doesn't behave like that. What about the margin auto? Nope. Nope. Okay. What if I say this is display flex, and I just want it to So if I add this, for example, the div, where you have the pagination container, okay, but this pagination container will have is the, so instead of doing the pagination container, let me use some of the Beautify styles, or the Tailwind style. Okay, so let me open the Tailwind here. On the documentation here, the templates, not necessarily the template, the documentations, but this is the Tailwind UI, and I don't want the Tailwind UI. I want is the plain Tailwind, exactly, the Tailwind CSS, not the Tailwind UI. Okay, and here, configuration, content, screen color, spacing. But this is the customization, core concept, utility first, fundamentals. Exactly. Utility first fundamentals here. Hover focus on other states. Responsive design. Dark mode. Reusing styles. Adding custom styles and functions and directives. Okay. So base style layout. So this is, so what I want to do here is to add a layout, okay, which is in this case, okay, if I look at the cases, let me close things that I don't need any longer. Beautify, no, thanks for that. Something that I'm going to take a look later. There you get it. So I just want is to add some padding, okay, and center the element. So I can do is a flex for that. So by defining is flex like this. So you define is flex, and now I want is to align that to center using the flex property. So just define items here. Justify like this. Justify item center. How grid items? What about flex element? Justify content. How flex and grid item exactly? This is for flex item. Justify center. So back into the code. I do this. And if I now go back here, that's right, exactly. This is the behavior that I want. Okay, cool. I just now add some padding here. Okay, let me add some padding here. Padding, but at all directions, like this. Padding at all directions. That's great. That's great. Awesome. And make the background of this be take a more whitey color. So what about color here? Just to make myself familiar with the documentation about the color here. Filter, tables, interactivity, SVG, transform, effect, background colors, text color, background colors. There you go. Background colors here is somewhat like this. Something like this. Okay. Something more white or more like zinc. Think that'll be good. Think color. Most likely this. Okay, great. Now here, this is when things get tricky, because I must indicate that this is a fixed position with a width of 100%, Okay. And the top is at 50 pixels, or let's say one row element here, and voila, right? And we need to add the C index as 9. So this will look like, perhaps not right now, but it will look like something like this. There you got it. All right. So that's great. That's great. So this is the style that we need to add. Okay. So if I go to here, to the position fix here, let me look at the position fix position element exactly. Fix. This is how they use that. So fix position. So I'm telling the browser, hey, I just want to make this element fix. There is no need for, okay, width of 100%. Okay, so width percentage. View screen, right? So make the white screen to make the element span the entire width of the viewport. Okay. Now put the element at the top. Okay. Put the element at the top. Okay. And no, I don't want to use negative rules. Put the element at the top. And exactly positioning element. Okay. But put the element at the top. The funny thing is that I don't know. Okay. Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, top 50, top 56. Yeah, top 56. So top 56. And the C index to make the element come to front. So now if I reload this, okay, so it is loading the component, and now it is, so now it do this much faster. However, there is something interesting here, because I'm telling you to load at the top, and I think you're adding too much. Okay, I think you're adding too much positioning to the top. Yeah, I think we're adding too much positioning on the top. Top 8. Yeah, top 8. Oops. Top 8. That's right. And there you got it. There you got it. Okay. So now we need is to add is a in the container to add some more margin on the top, something around like 14. Okay, so now it rendered the content right below there. Exactly. So instead of using this container class, we can is just use this. So the margin top will be something like 16, and the margin left 8, margin right 8 as well, and margin bottom 8. Okay, so I remove is the container class. That's right. So let me add a little bit more of margin top. Okay, 38. That doesn't exist. I love it. Okay, much better. Way much better. Okay. Okay. So with this, what we did is just to, well, add tailwinds for that, and to make our component much more lightweight. Which when I do this, git status, and here I will add this, all of this, git status, git commit -m, replace beautify replace beautify with tailwind. Like this, git status, nothing, okay, git push origin to the main branch, and there you got it. Okay, now it is time to test the output bill. You know what I mean? By using tools like Nuxt preview or Nuxt analyze. So let me is to remove in a recursive way, forcefully, this folder. Okay, and run this command. And I know this is an experimental feature, but what it's gonna do here, so go back to the code here. So now it's building for production. We still have tremendous we still have tremendous okay. Alright, so let me now analyze the bill. Okay, so Nitro server bundle stats. So that's right, so the styles reduce vastly. Okay, which is good. And on the client bill bundle, yes, the servers, the PDF worker is heavy, very heavy, as well as this. Interesting, very interesting. Okay, so if I want now to go back here to the view library here, to this Pdfs library, the view3 Pdfjs, which is a wrapper around the PDF library, in your component you will need to use this, the ESM, because otherwise it won't perform the tree shaking that I want to. Import component from the ES folder to enable tree shaking. Even though the bundle is still huge. Even though the bundle is still huge, man. Okay. For every other use case in browser, note that you're not supposed to load the pdf.worker.js file manually, since that will lead to very poor performance, since all parsing should run in a worker thread or worker port. Okay. Okay. Create PDF network string. Create PDF network string. Get document. Get URL prop. Get data prop. PDF document loading test. But because this is a wrapper from this, but because this is a wrapper from this, because this is a wrapper from PDF, okay? Loading task. Create loading test. Pdfjs live.global worker option.worker sync. Exactly, because it's using is the worker source. PDF live global worker option. Get document source and load a task. Because it's this. Pdfjs live.get document source. Loading test. And they just provide a couple examples of how you can do that. rendering the page. Exactly, global worker options. And then you load that. Hello world using base64 encode PDF. PDF get page. That's a key. Render context in viewport. Recall himself. On pref page. Key render page. Exactly, it's to render one page for that. Because there are a lot. Okay. The problem with this is because it loads the entire. Because it loads the entire. Yeah. The problem with this approach is because it loads the entire. It loads the entire PDF, which is great. But if we want to make things much more performant, especially thinking on user with low end power device, well, we can now is load that one page. So instead of fetch the entire application, okay, like this. Exactly, because this is a reference from that. Performing npm run dev. Yeah, well, because this is some optimization problems, okay, that even the library doesn't want to solve. Well, yeah, even the library doesn't want to solve that, or the maintainers doesn't want to do that. Okay, It's like, no problem. So let me look at this. The Mozilla here. That's right. Holy hell, we're downloading is the entire document. Okay. 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 So that'll be all for this video. Okay. Take care. Bye bye.